Getting a divorce is tough enough. The process can be scary, stressful, and even lonely. But a new app aims to make it just a little bit more manageable. It's called Avail Divorce. So Coloradan Jennifer Kiplet co-founded that app, and she's here to tell us more about it. So first of all, how did you guys come up with this?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Mackenzie, for having me. And yes, divorce is a very complicated problem. And I think right now in this moment where so many people are coming out of COVID and in this pandemic time, where there's lots of estimates right now that divorce is going to be on the rise this year. So Avail Divorce, which is the website that we have founded, my co-founder Nate Zorich and I founded it together because we are both divorced, and we basically created a website and company with everything that we wish we had had during our own divorces. So one of the things that happens in divorce is that you don't know what you don't know. I mean, people get married not expecting to get divorced, and then suddenly if you find yourself in that position where you are transitioning out of a marriage into something else, whether it's a co-parenting relationship or if you don't have kids, you're just going your separate ways, navigating the legal process, the emotional process, the mental health process, the financial aspects of divorce, all of that can be extremely overwhelming because you've never done it before. And so Avail Divorce was created by two people who've been there, two people who wish that it's exactly what we wish we would have had ourselves.
That's awesome. So I was reading through it, and it features things like community forums, checklists. You mentioned mental health experts. Tell me, how helpful are these things to people who are going through a divorce?
Yeah. Well, I think divorce can be very different for different people. I think there's different degrees of high conflict or sort of very amicable joint decisions to end a marriage. And Avail really has something for everybody. I think a lot of times when people are starting, a lot of the questions they're so overwhelming. It's like, where do I start? Can I even afford to get divorced? Should I try to keep the house? Should I move out? Can I afford to move out? What does this mean for our kids? I think people have all of those questions. And so Avail has, through articles, webinars, and a really important aspect is community of other people who have been through divorce or who are divorcing, built a robust community online where you can access information yourself. If you're a person who really just likes to download a bunch of articles and read and educate yourself about the process, you can do that at Avail. If you're a person who likes to throw a question up in the community forum and say, hey, how did you figure out if you could afford to move out? You're going to get a bunch of responses from both experts and other people going through the process, and build community in that process as well for yourself.
Oh yeah, community is just so essential, and no matter what you're going through, but especially these tough situations. I wanted to touch on something you mentioned, divorce with kids, and we know that can be so tough on kids too. So you guys recently launched a co-parenting app. How does that one work?
Yeah, so research has really shown that what is tough on kids is when there's conflict between their parents or there's tension in their living environment, right? So whether your parents are married or whether your parents are divorced and living in two households, what negatively impacts kids is conflict and tension. So the co-parenting app, I'm so excited about it. I'm a co-parent, so my ex and I share custody 50-50, and Nate Zorich, who's my co-founder at Avail, he also shares custody 50-50 with his ex. And so we both have a lot of experience co-parenting. And our goal always is to keep our children at the center and to keep the conflict low for the kids so that they're not having to experience any of the stress that might be happening between their two parents. So in my case, my co-parenting situation is very amicable. My ex and I get along quite well, actually. But there's always things like my daughter left her water bottle at his house and then she needed it for camp and I didn't have it, or my son left his hockey stick, and there's all of this stuff. Or, for example, I wanted to trade Labor Day for Memorial Day on our parenting calendar, and I couldn't remember if I had sent him an email about that or sent him a text, or if we had talked about it during one day when we saw each other, and I couldn't find, and I knew he had given me an answer, I didn't know where it was. Anyway, all that to say, our co-parenting app simplifies it. It's all in one place. You can keep a calendar where you know what's happening on which days. You can make a request to your co-parent, hey, could you pick up this thing? Or could you, be sure that we have the teacher's gifts that are going to go to school on this day at the end of the year for the kids. I bought them, they're in the backpack. Be sure that they get there. Whatever it is, it's all in one place. I think it's going to make a huge difference in the lives of co-parents because I think it's going to cut down on conflict. It's going to cut down on miscommunication and just on the bandwidth that co-parenting takes, because you're not going to have to go searching your text thread and your email or trying to remember the conversation you had. You're just able to go to the app and see what you talked about or what you did in the discussion thread.
Yeah, that is a great resource for families. That's wonderful. Here, tell me too, your advice for couples that are going through a divorce right now. What would you tell them, or what do you want them to be thinking about?
Yeah, if you're in it right now, my advice is know that this isn't the end, this is the middle. So keep going. That's one thing. Just know that it is not going to always feel this painful and chaotic. Go to availdivorce.com and become a member so that you can have support. I think one thing that happens a lot of times for couples coming out of a marriage is most of their friends are married. And so their family doesn't understand. Their married friends don't understand. They don't have anyone except for maybe an attorney to ask questions to, and attorneys are very expensive. So come to availdivorce.com. It's a $35 a month membership, and you can start to access the resources that you're going to need to actually get through it. Community of people who've been there is very important. I would say stand in your own integrity throughout the process. I think that's actually something that can get really lost in the chaos and conflict and fear that comes up during divorce. Come back to yourself, come back to knowing who you are and who you want to be in the process. Keep your kids out of the conflict if you have kids, and watch your drinking. I think sometimes during the divorce process, it can be easy to uptick the nightly glasses of wine or, just one more beer. I say caution against that. It is not actually a way to make healthy decisions during a time when you need to be clear-headed.
Wonderful. Well, great advice there, Jennifer. And thanks so much for sharing information about Avail Divorce. It just sounds like a great resource for those who are going through this right now. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Mackenzie. I appreciate your time.
Of course. And we'll put a link to more information on Avail Divorce at cbsdenver.com.